Imagine pouring every ounce of yourself into a dream, scraping by, sacrificing weekends, and finally holding it in your hands, only to have the people who raised you snatch it away without a second thought. That's where my story begins, with me, Ren Caldwell, standing in the doorway of the house I bought with my own blood, sweat, and savings, being told to pack up and leave by my own parents. At 28, I thought I'd built something solid, a 2-bedroom haven I'd turned from a fixer-upper into my pride and joy. But my parents, Gary and Diane, had other plans. They wanted it for my sister, Tessa Caldwell, their golden girl, the shining star they'd always put on a pedestal. In this first chapter, I'll take you back to that soul-crushing moment when they chose her over me, kicking me out of my own home and lighting a fire of rage and resolve that would soon meet karma's swift, unexpected justice. This isn't just about losing a house, it's about betrayal cutting deeper than a knife and the promise of a comeback I didn't see coming. It was a chilly October afternoon, the kind where the leaves crunch underfoot and the air smells faintly of wood smoke. I'd just gotten home from a long day freelancing as a graphic designer, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder, when I saw my parents' car in the driveway. They'd been over plenty during my reno days, Dad with his toolbox, Mom with coffee and thrift store finds, so I figured they were dropping by to visit. I walked in, smiling, ready to show off the new bookshelf I'd built, when Dad's voice stopped me cold. "Ren, we need to talk. Sit down." His tone was clipped, his arms crossed tight across his flannel shirt. Mom stood beside him, twisting her scarf in her hands, avoiding my gaze. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a casual chat. "We need you to move out," Dad said, blunt as a hammer. "Tessa's coming back from LA. Things didn't work out with her modeling and she needs a place to stay." I blinked, my brain scrambling to catch up. "Okay, she can crash here with me. There's a spare room." My voice shook, but I tried to sound reasonable. Dad shook his head, his jaw set. "No, Ren, she needs the whole house. It's better for her mental health. A fresh start after everything. You can find somewhere else." The words hit like a slap. I stared at him, then at Mom, waiting for her to jump in, to say something, anything. "This is my house," I said, louder than I meant. "I bought it. My name's on the deed. You can't just—" "What are you saying?" Mom finally spoke, her voice thin and wobbly. "Ren, please don't make this hard. Tessa's fragile right now. She's been through so much, and you're strong. You'll figure it out." Strong? Fragile? I felt the room tilt, my chest tightening with disbelief. "I've been through stuff too," I shot back. "I worked 3 years for this place, every paycheck, every late night, and you're kicking me out for her?" Dad's face didn't soften. "Money's tight for us, Ren. We can't help her otherwise. She needs this more than you do. Family helps family." Family. The word twisted in my gut. This wasn't help. This was robbery, plain and simple, dressed up as some noble sacrifice. I fought to keep my voice steady, tears burning behind my eyes. "Where am I supposed to go? I can't just snap my fingers and find a place." Dad shrugged, casual as if he'd asked me to pass the salt. "You've got savings, a good job, rent an apartment. We need you out by next week." Mom reached for my hand, but I yanked it back. "Don't be selfish, Ren," she whispered. "Selfish?" I wanted to scream, to throw something, to make them see how insane this was. Instead, I stood there, frozen, as they walked out, leaving me in the middle of my living room, surrounded by walls I'd painted, floors I'd sanded, a home I'd made mine. Now it was Tessa's, their perfect princess, who'd always gotten the spotlight while I got the scraps. That night, I broke. I called Tessa, hoping she'd say no, that she'd refuse to take it. Her voice was soft, tired. "Ren, I didn't ask them to do this, but I need it. I'm a mess right now. You'll be okay, you always are. Okay?" I hung up, tears streaming, my hands shaking with rage. She didn't fight it, she just took it, like always. My parents had favored her since we were kids, her beauty, her charm, her potential, while I was the steady one, the one they leaned on but never lifted up. But this? Evicting me from my own house? It was a betrayal I couldn't swallow. I packed a bag, crashed at my friend Mia's, and swore I'd never let them break me. Karma, though, had other plans, and it was already on its way. Faster than any of us could have guessed. This is where my fight starts. A wound so deep it fueled me, and a twist of fate that'll leave you stunned. Stick with me for the next part, where Tessa moves in and the first signs of trouble brew. If this hits you in the gut, drop your thoughts below. Let's unravel this betrayal together. After my parents, Gary and Diane, ripped my house away from me, Ren Caldwell, to hand it over to my golden sister, Tessa Caldwell, I was left picking up the pieces at 28. I'd poured everything into that 2-bedroom haven, only to be booted out for Tessa's fresh start, despite my name on the deed. In this second chapter, Tessa moves in, strutting into my life's work like it's her birthright, while I scramble to survive. But even as I'm drowning in anger and loss, the universe starts whispering hints of karma, and the cracks in their perfect little plan show up faster than I could have hoped. This is where the drama kicks into gear, and I find the first sparks of fight in my shattered world. The handover happened the day after that gut punch conversation. I spent the morning hauling boxes to my friend Mia's apartment, my throat tight with every trip, my sketches, my furniture, my coffee pot, all left behind because Mom insisted, Tessa needs a home, not an empty shell. I wanted to scream that it was my home, but pride kept me silent. I took what I could fit in Mia's spare room and drove off just as Tessa's rented SUV rolled up. Through the rear view, I saw Dad unloading her Louis Vuitton bags, Tessa waving at me with a half smile that wasn't sorry, just smug. My hands gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles whitened, and I swore I'd never give her the satisfaction of seeing me cry. She settled in fast, like she'd been waiting to claim it. Her Instagram exploded with posts. New beginnings, new energy, captioned under shots of my kitchen island, my patio chairs, my damp curtains fluttering in the breeze. Friends texted me screenshots, furious. She's acting like she built it. Mia raged, pacing her tiny living room. I couldn't look long. Every photo was a knife twist. Meanwhile, I was draining my savings on rent for Mia's couch, freelancing extra gigs to afford a deposit on my own place. My days blurred into late-night design work, hunched over my laptop, fueled by coffee and spite. Tessa's takeover wasn't just a loss. It was a taunt, a neon sign of how little my parents valued me. Dad called a few days later, his voice gruff and casual. "Tessa's settling in fine. You holding up?" I bit back a laugh. Holding up? I was sleeping on a lumpy sofa, my life in boxes, while their princess lounged in my house. "Sure, Dad," I lied, keeping it short. "Good," he grunted, then hung up. No apology, no guilt, just a check-in to ease his conscience. Mom didn't call, probably too busy fussing over Tessa, but Mia kept me grounded. "They'll regret this," she said, pouring me wine. "She's not the saint they think." I nodded, clinging to that hope, though I didn't see how yet. Then the first tremors of trouble hit. Mia's brother, Jake, lived near my old street and started feeding me gossip. "Tessa's throwing parties already," he texted one night. "Big ones. Your dad was there yesterday, looked mad as hell." My pulse quickened. Parties? In my quiet, cozy house? I stalked her Instagram, and there it was. Blurry stories of strangers spilling beer on my rug, Tessa laughing on my coffee table, music thumping. My chest burned with rage, but a tiny grin crept in. This wasn't the mental health retreat Mom sold me. This was Tessa being Tessa, wild and reckless, the side they'd always ignored. Maybe their golden girl wasn't the fix they'd bet on. A week later, Mom called, her voice tight with worry. "Ren, Tessa's having a rough time. The neighbors complained about noise last night. Can you talk to her?" I snorted, incredulous. "Me? You gave her my house. That's on you." She sighed, long and weary. "We thought she'd calm down, get her life together." Calm down? Tessa had been a whirlwind since high school, charming her way out of messes while I cleaned mine up alone. I'd warned them she'd spiral, but they'd chosen her anyway. "You wanted her there," I said, voice hard. "Deal with it." I hung up, my hands trembling, but a flicker of power surged through me. Their plan was wobbling, and I wasn't the one falling apart. I threw myself into survival mode, landing a fat design contract that paid enough to snag a small downtown loft. It wasn't my house, no backyard or big windows, but I painted the walls teal, hung my art, and made it mine. Tessa's chaos faded to a dull roar as I rebuilt piece by piece. Jake kept the updates coming. "Cops broke up another party. Your place is a zoo." I smirked, sipping coffee in my new space. Karma was tiptoeing in, swift and sly, and though I didn't wish her ruin, I couldn't deny the thrill of their dream starting to crack. This chapter wraps with me clawing back my life while Tessa's reign stumbles. In the next part, her mess blows up, and my parents' faith in her starts costing them big. If you're hooked on this karmic buildup, drop your thoughts below. Ever seen someone's perfect facade slip this fast? Let's chat, because this story's about to get wilder. At this point, I, Ren Caldwell, was clawing my way back from the betrayal of my parents, Gary and Diane, who'd kicked me out of the house I bought at 28 to give it to my golden sister, Tessa Caldwell. She turned my sanctuary into her personal party zone while I rebuilt in a small loft, fueled by rage and grit. In this third chapter, Tessa's reckless spiral goes full throttle and the fallout slams into Mom and Dad like a freight train. Karma's not just hinting now. It's roaring in, faster than I ever imagined, and I'm watching their perfect plan crumble while I stand taller than ever. This is where their golden girl myth starts to burn, and I taste the first real bite of justice. Tessa's descent picked up steam about a month into her takeover. I'd settled into my loft, painting walls and landing design gigs, when Mia's brother Jake became my eyes on the ground. "Your house is a war zone," he texted one night. "Party last night got crazy, cops showed up again." My heart thudded as I pictured it, my quiet haven, once filled with my sketches and soft music, now a revolving door of strangers and noise. I couldn't resist driving by one evening, parking a block away to avoid being seen. The sight gutted me. Trash littered the lawn, a window was cracked, my flower boxes trampled. Neighbors glared from their stoops, and I felt a stab of guilt for the chaos, even if it wasn't my fault. But beneath that, a dark thrill brewed. Tessa wasn't healing, she was imploding. Dad called the next day, his voice a jagged mix of panic and fury I'd never heard before. "Ren, the HOA's on us about fines. Tessa's throwing parties every damn night. What do we do?" I almost choked on my coffee. "We? You took my house for her, Dad. You figure it out," he groaned, loud and frustrated. "We didn't think she'd go this far. She said she'd get her act together." I rolled my eyes. Tessa's promises were as solid as smoke. They'd always fallen for her charm, ignoring the wreckage she left. You wanted her there, I said, voice like steel. This is what you get. He muttered something about talking to her and hung up, but I knew he was floundering. Their golden girl was slipping, and they couldn't pretend otherwise. Her social media told the story louder than words. The new vibes posts faded, replaced by sloppy party clips. Tessa stumbling, eyes glassy, strangers grinding in my living room. Captions got shorter, sloppier. Living it up, or just emojis. Comments piled in, you good girl? And whose house is this? She didn't tag me, but locals knew, and my phone buzzed with friends asking, how's she still there? I didn't reply, I was too busy thriving. A startup paid big for my latest branding project, enough to buy a real couch for my loft. I hung new art, cooked dinners, felt roots sinking in. Tessa's mess was hers now, not mine, and I reveled in that distance. Then Mom called, her voice cracking with tears. Ren, Tessa crashed her car last night, drove it into a mailbox drunk. The police towed it, and we're stuck with the fines. We're broke. Broke? They poured their savings into her fresh start, and now this? I leaned against my counter, incredulous. Why is she still in my house? I asked sharp. Mom sniffed. We can't kick her out, Ren. She's fragile. That word again, their shield for her every failure. You picked her fragility over me, I said. I'm not bailing you out. She begged me to come over, to talk to Tessa, but I shut her down. You made this bed, lie in it. I hung up, my pulse racing, a mix of anger and triumph surging through me. They were sinking, and I wasn't. Jake's next update came via a neighbor's furious Facebook post. Elm Street party house at it again. Cops, trash, broken windows, owners, do something. Pic showed my yard strewn with cans, my porch light smashed. I saved it, a bitter trophy. Tessa wasn't just failing, she was torching their dream of her redemption in front of everyone. Dad called again, desperate. Ren, the HOA's threatening eviction over the complaints. Help us, please. I snapped, voice rising. It's my house. You gave it to her. You don't get to crawl back now. He went silent, then clicked off. Their faith in her was costing them everything, and I felt the shift. I wasn't the victim anymore. I doubled down on my life. A gallery loved my side art, scheduling a show, and my freelance work soared. My loft became my castle, small but mine, built from my own hands. Tessa's spiral wasn't my victory, but proof. I didn't need their house or their love to win. Karma was here, swift and sharp, and they were drowning in it while I rose above. This chapter ends with Tessa's chaos peaking and me unshaken. In the next part, the house hits its breaking point, and my parents face a reckoning they can't escape. If this karmic turn has you hooked, tell me below. Ever seen someone's golden child crash this hard? Let's talk, because this is just the build-up. Here I am, Ren Caldwell, at 28, having rebuilt my life in a downtown loft, after my parents, Gary and Diane, forced me out of the house I bought to hand it over to my golden sister, Tessa Caldwell. Her reckless parties had turned my sanctuary into a neighborhood disgrace, and Mom and Dad were scrambling as their blind faith in her backfired. In this fourth chapter, the house reaches its breaking point, and my parents' delusion shatters under the weight of Tessa's chaos. Karma's not playing games anymore. It's here in full force, faster than I ever dreamed, and I'm watching their world collapse while I stand stronger than ever. This is the moment they beg, and I decide how much mercy I've got left. It all unraveled about 6 weeks after Tessa moved in. I'd settled into my loft, freelancing like a machine and painting for a gallery show, when Mia's brother Jake dropped a bomb via text. Your house got raided last night, cops everywhere. Tessa's screwed. My heart pounded as I called him, demanding details. Big party, drugs found, arrests, he said. She didn't get locked up, but the place is shut down. Neighbors were cheering. I sat back, stunned. My house, my quiet haven of sage green walls and hardwood floors, was now a crime scene. I drove by at sunrise, unable to resist. Yellow tape roped off the porch, windows were smashed, my garden a muddy mess. It broke my heart, but cold satisfaction settled in too. This was their mess, not mine. Dad called that afternoon, his voice ragged with panic. Ren, it's a disaster. Tessa's back at our place. The house, there's damage, fines piling up, the HOA's on us. We can't handle this. I gripped my phone, jaw tight. That's my house, Dad. You let her ruin it. He groaned, a sound of pure desperation. We didn't know she'd go this far. We thought she'd pull it together. Pull it together? They bet my life's work on their flaky princess, and now they were shocked it blew up in their faces? You kicked me out for her, I said, voice icy. You don't get to dump this on me now. Mom jumped on, sobbing. Ren, please help. We're broke. The repairs are thousands. We need you. Need me? After tossing me aside? You needed me when I owned it, I snapped. Too late. Tessa's online presence vanished. No more party posts, no gloating captions, just silence. Word spread fast, her modeling career was toast. Her LA crowd had ghosted her. She'd crashed at Mom and Dad's cramped condo, their last lifeline stretched thin. Jake sent me pics of the house, graffiti on the walls, floors gouged, my kitchen counters stained and cracked. I felt sick, mourning the home I built, but not shocked. Tessa's chaos had a price tag, and they were footing the bill. Meanwhile, my life was hitting new peaks. My gallery show sold out, pre-orders for prints rolled in, and a TEDx talk got scheduled. My loft glowed with my art, my victories, a fortress they couldn't touch. Dad showed up at my place a week later, unannounced, looking like he'd been run over. His gray hair was wild, his eyes sunken. "Ren, we're losing it all," he said, stepping inside. "The house might get foreclosed. Tessa's a wreck. We're in debt, up to our necks." He sank into my chair, hands shaking. "We were wrong, kid, so damn wrong. You earned that place and we threw you out for her. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" The word landed heavy, raw, and real. Mom called right after, echoing him. "We failed you, Ren. We see it now. Please help us." Tears welled up, but I held them back. "You failed me then," I said. "I survived without you." They begged me to take the house back, to fix it. My savings could have covered it. My design income was steady, but why would I? That house wasn't home anymore. It was their mistake, their tomb of bad choices. "Sell it," I told Dad, voice firm. "Pay your debts. I'm not saving you." He nodded, defeated, staring at my loft's walls, my art, my life. "You're tougher than us," he said quietly. "Always were." I didn't disagree. I'd built this without them, and that was my strength. Mom tried again later, softer. "We just want you back, Ren." Back. I wasn't gone, just done being their doormat. Tessa sent a weak text. "I didn't mean this, Ren. I'm sorry." I didn't reply. She'd played her role, and I wasn't here to absolve her. My parents were drowning in regret, the house a wreckage of their gamble, and I stood above it, untouchable. Karma had moved like lightning, and they were left clutching the ashes. This chapter closes with the house in ruins, my parents broken, and me unyielding. In the final part, karma finishes its work, and I choose what family means after this storm. If this swift justice has you gripped, drop your thoughts below. Ever had to watch someone beg after they wronged you? Share it, because this tale's racing to its end. This is it, the end of my road as Ren Caldwell, the 28-year-old who lost the house I bought with my own sweat when my parents, Gary and Diane, kicked me out to give it to my golden sister, Tessa Caldwell. Her chaos trashed my home, their finances, and their pride, leaving them pleading for my help as I rebuilt in a loft of my own making. In this final chapter, karma lands its knockout punch, swift and brutal, and I figure out where family fits in a life I forged alone. It's not a tidy bow, but a raw, real closure, earned through fire and defiance. Let's wrap this up with the truth of what I lost and what I gained. The house's end came fast and final. After the police raid, the HOA pushed hard, piling fines and threats until foreclosure loomed. Mom and Dad had no choice. They sold it at a steep loss to a flipper who'd rip it apart and rebuild. Dad called me the day the sale closed, his voice hollow. "It's gone, Ren. We cleared the debts, barely, but that's it." I leaned against my loft's counter, picturing my old porch, my garden, now someone else's blank slate. "You chose that path," I said, steady. He sighed. "We lost more than a house, kid. We lost you." He wasn't wrong, not entirely, but I didn't soften. That loss was theirs to carry. I'd already moved on. Tessa hit rock bottom right alongside them. She'd fled their condo, crashing with a friend, her modeling dreams dead, her socials silent. No more golden glow, just a faded star they couldn't prop up anymore. Mom sent me a letter, a shaky scrawl that caught me off guard. "Ren, we picked the wrong daughter. Tessa's lost, we're broken, and you're the one we should have fought for. Forgive us?" It stung, her words digging into old wounds, but it also lit something fierce in me. Dad followed up, showing up at my loft with a box of my old stuff, sketches, a mug, relics from the house. "Thought you'd want these," he mumbled, eyes red. I took it, nodding. "Thanks." He lingered, then said, "You're incredible, Ren. We're proud." Proud now, when I'd built it all without them. I didn't hug him, but I let him stay a minute, a crack in my armor. My life, though, was soaring. The TEDx talk dropped online, racking up views, and my gallery show sold out, prints shipping nationwide. A design firm offered me a cushy job, but I turned it down, loving the freedom of my freelance grind. My loft was my kingdom, teal walls, my art everywhere, a space no one could take. Mia toasted me one night, grinning. "Karma's your sidekick, Ren." She was right. The house's fall didn't heal the hurt, but it proved I didn't need it, or them, to win. Tessa texted once more. "I'm sorry, Ren. I messed up everything." I replied short and sharp, "Yeah, you did. Good luck." No warmth, just closure. She didn't write back, and I didn't care. Mom and Dad kept trying, small gestures at first, calls about my work, an invite to dinner. I went once, a stiff meal at their condo, Tessa absent. "We see you now," Mom said, voice breaking. Dad nodded, quieter than I'd ever seen him. "Should have seen you then." I didn't melt, didn't erase the past. "I'm here," I said, firm. "That's what I've got." It wasn't the old love, not yet, but a thread, a chance to rebuild on my terms. They nodded, accepting it, their golden girl a ghost between us. Tessa was out there, drifting, her fall as swift as karma's strike, and they couldn't deny it anymore. I found my peace in the wreckage. My loft held my story. Sketches from the dark days, prints of my rise, a life I'd carved with my own hands. At my next show, Dad clapped loudest, Mom smiled through tears, a glimpse of the parents I'd once had. I hugged them after, brief but real, a truce, not a surrender. "You did this, Ren," Dad whispered. "All you." I grinned, free at last. Damn right I did. Karma came fast, tore down their gamble, and lifted me higher. I forgave enough to breathe, not enough to forget, and that's my win. This is where my story ends, a whirlwind of loss, fight, and redemption. If karma's speed blew you away, tell me below. Ever had to rise after family knocked you down? Share your grit, because this taught me, strength is the ultimate payback. Thanks for riding this out with me. See you in the next tale.